Hello, everybody. This is Chuck Wiger. I'm at the state capitol, and with me today is State Representative Peter Fischer.
Good morning. Good to see you, Chuck.
Hi, Peter. And Peter and I both live in Maplewood and are proud to be a part of the delegation representing our area. Also included in the Maplewood legislative representation would be Representative Leon Lilly,
Right.
Representative Joanne Ward, and Senator Susan Kent. But we live in Maplewood, and
Right.
you've been in Maplewood your
Almost my
pretty much
entire
your
life,
entire
yeah.
life, except college and that. So tell us about growing up.
Oh, growing up in Maplewood, it was a lot different back in the 60s and 70s. A lot of Maplewood still wasn't developed. So the area I grew up in, which is just off McKnight and Larpenter, where there are a lot of townhomes and apartments now, used to be all what we called swamps back then.
Yes.
We would call them wetlands today, and the remnants of the old streetcar line were right across the street from us. And so as kids, we used to take out the old ties that were left over, lash them together, and we put them in the ponds, and we go rafting in the ponds. Those are
Wow.
the fun times back in those days. And
Where'd you go to school, Pete?
school, I went to Sacred Heart
Yes.
up in Dayton's Bluff. We were Catholic, and so my folks sent us up there.
And I believe you're still a cantor.
Yes, I'm still involved at Sacred Heart Church up on Dayton's Bluff. I'm a cantor involved with the choir there. So every other Sunday, I'm usually up on the altar leading the congregation in prayer and song.
It
So
says something about your faith journey, so good
Thank
for you
you.
on that. But you went Sacred Heart and
yeah, Sacred Heart. And then high school, I went to Hill Murray.
Yes.
That's where I got my high school diploma, and then from there I went off to Century College, which at the time was called Lakewood Community College.
Yes.
That was a great experience out there. I was involved in student government. I was on the newspaper out there. And then eventually, after my 2-year degree there, I went to St. Thomas and received my business degree from St. Thomas.
you're president of the student body as well at Lakewood,
Right.
I believe.
That is correct.
Add
Chuck. Yes, I was in charge of the student senate, and so as president, that was at the time when they were having some other budget difficulties, and the community college faculty ended up on strike at the time. So, as students, we were down here protesting at the Capitol every day, and for about a week and a half, I actually slept in the Capitol Rotunda.
You did?
We had been occupying the governor's office, and the state patrol came in and said, we're not going to send you to jail, but you're going to have to leave the office. We'll let you stay in the Capitol. And so it was kind of an interesting time back then, because we were just saying we want the strike settled so we can go back to school.
Okay.
And eventually, after about a week and a half, the sides came together with a reasonable settlement. The students were able to go back to school, and the teachers went back in. So, but it was a very interesting time. So that's where I had my first interactions with some very activity and political action.
Wonderful. And I know that your mother has been active for a number of years, and
Oh, yes.
to help inspire that civic awareness. And we just tell us a little bit about the family too, your siblings and
certainly.
mom and dad.
My dad worked for the Army Corps of Engineers. He was he ended up being chief of the St. Paul District for many
Yes.
years, and so he oversaw the area, and his specialty was hydrology, which is water.
Yes.
Which kind of probably laid the groundwork for me years later,
Yes.
getting involved here at the Capitol on water issues. My mother was very involved in the local community.
Yes.
She served on the Planning Commission for about 40 years.
For Maplewood.
For
yes.
Maplewood. She was the first woman.
How
who
many
was
years
appointed
ago?
to that. Almost 40 years.
40 years on the planning commission. So you.
That's a long time.
Yes.
She served at one time on the Human Relations Commission there. She was also on the Housing and Redevelopment Authority for
Yes.
many years as chair. So she was very active for many years.
And
working
League
on
of Women
things.
Voters
League of Women
involved in.
She was an election judge for many
Yes.
years. She was very active in different things. And of course, that's where it kind of rubbed off on me. She would drag me to different activities
Yes.
that was going on, whether it was with the League of Women Voters, or she eventually got me to be an election judge. She brought me to precinct caucuses, which was some of the start of my
Yes.
involvement in the Democratic Party. So that really kept me busy over the years. So I kind of followed, in some ways, her footsteps. She encouraged me along, and
Okay.
that was
And you became
exciting.
very active when you settled in Maplewood, and where you've been in northern Maplewood for many years. But we'll mention too that you're married to Christy
Yes.
and 3 adult children.
Definitely. My wife, Christy, works at the University of Minnesota on the farm campus in continuing education. I have 3 great children. My son, Peter, is on the Wiper Lake Fire Department part-time, And then also a short time ago, he was hired on full-time at the Cottage Grove Fire Department. He's a paramedic firefighter.
Good. And he's a Hamlin University grad.
Yes, Hamlin University, same place that you went to.
Yes, and North High.
And North High, that's right. He also graduated from North High. All my kids went through the public school system, all graduated from North High. My middle daughter, Hannah, after she graduated from high school at North, she went to School of Mines in South Dakota.
Okay.
She received her degree in geological engineering, and she is now working for an engineering firm several days a week up at St. Cloud and several days a week in Rochester.
Wonderful.
So she does a lot of commuting there. And then my youngest daughter, Emily, she also went to Hamlin, graduated from Hamlin. She works as a probation officer in Hennepin County.
Wonderful.
And so she works on the intensive supervised release program. So, so I'm really proud of my kids. They've done a lot of great things and are very involved in the local community in different ways.
Okay, so you're very active through the family and through your work, and we're going to mention too what you do for your work. You did a big career change, and devoted to public service, and then we'll get into role as the state representative.
Right. I spent over 35 years running and managing small businesses. One of the places I was at the Minneapolis Club as assistant general manager. I did that for like 15 years at that place, and then I made a career change as I went to work at a homeless youth shelter in North Minneapolis.
Yes.
It was an organization that was at the time struggling financially, and they were about to go under. And so I came in. We got a new executive director, and together we were able to turn the place around. It was really small at that point in time, so besides taking care of finances, there'd be days I'd be unplugging toilets, I'd be down on the floor as a youth counselor, working overnight shifts,
Yes.
Because the need was so great, and still is so great, to take care of the homeless youth out there. Our organization has grown greatly. We now have 2 shelter locations, one in Minneapolis, one in Brooklyn Park. We've got several what are host home programs where people open up their homes voluntarily to take in homeless youth.
Yes.
And it's been really exciting to see the great growth that we've gone through over the last 10 years, which it's been 10 years now. It goes quick, it seems.
It sure does. And we've worked together for decades, and so
Definitely.
we've enjoyed that journey, and we're here now as state legislators. You've been in now for several years, actually. Tell us about your role as a legislator, a few of the committee assignments.
Well, a little bit role as a legislature. We're in the minority right now, and so as a result, it's a little tougher to get bills through. First of all, the committees I serve on Health and Human Services, Finance, which ties in very much with what my background is right now, working with homeless youth.
Yes.
Environment and Natural Resources, which with the water issues we have in White Bear Lake, and we've worked very closely, you and I have worked very closely addressing those issues.
Yes.
And then the other one is Veterans Affairs.
And we could say too, White Bear Lake has been a poster child, Coleman Lake, and a number of issues throughout the state.
Oh, definitely. Water issues, water quality in about 40% of the state has gotten worse over time.
Yep.
And 40% of the water you can't swim or fish it because it's so contaminated. And we have to do a better job, and that's one of the things that we've all been focusing on. You've been a great supporter over the years of the environment also, as working together to clean up the water so that we will leave good water conditions for our future generations, because with water shortages that are been hitting around the country, more and more companies are eventually going to want to settle here, and we're going to want to protect our resources so that we have them available for future generations.
In fact, in Minnesota, in southwest Minnesota, Laverne and that greater area, business is not even able to expand or to locate there because of the water shortage. It's a critical issue.
It's a critical issue, and the water that they're going to eventually get is going to come from the Missouri River, which is almost 100 miles away.
Yes.
And it's very interesting when you take a look at that part of Minnesota, how short of water they are, and then you go up to northern Minnesota, they've got so much water they can hardly do anything because the groundwater is so high. So it's very interesting as you look at how water plays differently across the state. And that's what makes it tough, as you know, when we're working on the water issues, because when you try to deal with the problem in one part of the state, it looks much different in another part of the state. So it's trying to create a toolbox that can be used in the appropriate areas, and can't just mandate one thing that applies statewide because of the way we have water issues across a different state. They look much differently.
You and I were the chief authors for the new law that created the Water Commission. We're pleased to serve on it. I have the honor now of being the Senate chair for it. You are a leading participant in that group. And people can get more information on the website, for the commission.
Right.
Barb Huberty, our director, does an outstanding job with providing links for various updates. We just had a great presentation regarding the whole White Bear Lake area and future options. So, we'll stay tuned on that, and we have a number of community meetings where we're getting updates and community engagement as well as to the sustainability for that lake as well as others.
That's correct. And one of the great things that Barb also does for us on the Legislative Water Commission, she sends out a weekly update. Yes. And anyone in the state is able to sign up for that. And there are a lot of our local communities that follow it very closely because she keeps people updated as not what's happening across the state, but also what's happening in the local areas.
Yes.
And that has been very helpful. I know from what I've heard from city folks, very helpful to them to keep updated as to what's happening.
Okay. So environmental issues, the water, health, human services. There's a number of other issues. You'd like to touch on education or a couple of others before we close?
I would say, the big one is what's happening right now with the Conference Committee on Higher Education. Yes. I know that as we were looking at the bill yesterday, the thing that I was disturbed at is that the original House bill was cutting Century College, which is in our district, by over $2 million.
Yes.
The Conference Committee now is going to be cutting it by $3 million, and at the same time forcing a tuition increase. At a time of a surplus, it's quite frustrating that tuition will go up and there'll be less staff there to take care of the students. So I'm hoping that with working with the governor that we can get that turned around so we don't have to experience those cuts.
We certainly hope as we sit actually, sometime today they're supposed to try to reach a compromise, middle ground. And again, with a surplus of 1.6, how you can do that to Century College, which provides training and hope for thousands of people as have been a part of so many of our journeys. Let's hope it gets done.
We'll keep the fingers crossed, Chuck.
Good. And Peter, I know that you're very accessible. You get the emails, texts, phone messages. I do have your phone number here if people would like to call you, if you'd like to share that phone number.
Definitely. And actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my cell phone number. My cell phone number is 651-307-1625. That's a great way to get a hold of me, to leave information.
Or you could text too.
You can also text me. I've had people text me, and that comes in very helpful. Even when bills are up on the floor, I'll get a text from people saying, did you know A or B about the bill? And that makes it different sometimes in how I vote. So I always look forward to having that input.
Say it one more time, the cell number.
Cell phone number is 651-307-1625.
Okay, and Peter and Representative Fischer, but you're my friend. I'll call you Peter. What do you do to relax?
You know what, to relax, what we do is my wife and I will get together. We have Netflix, and so we'll either have the DVD that's coming of a movie, or we'll have a movie that we've already picked out, and we'll watch it online in the evening together. So it's a kind of nice way to kind of relax after a long day of sometimes frustration here at the Capitol.
Well, we appreciate that. I know how much energy you put into your work, your family, the legislative representation, and it's such a pleasure to be serving with you.
Well, thank you, and thank you for being a mentor to help me through it all, Chuck. I mean, I learned it from you, and I very much appreciate all that assistance. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter Fischer, and viewers, please get in touch with Peter if there's a particular item you want to suggest or get some comments to him. And of course, that invitation is always open for me as well. My cell phone is 651-770-0283, or at the Capitol, 296-6820. Thank you.